Hey, what's up, guys? It's Parmesan, and whoa, we're going back. Okay. Anyways, it's Parmesan, and I figured I'd do something a little bit different today. Okay. Rewind. We are going back on my fitness journey, and we're gonna talk about powerlifting, why I got into it, what got me into fitness in the first place, and my story a little bit. I figured it'd be interesting for you guys to know more of who I was and why I became the person that I am. Okay, when I have this conversation with a lot of other people, your introduction to the gym starts the same way, or maybe it doesn't. I originally got into the gym in like middle school for sports, right? Is when I really started to go religiously. But before that, before sports, I was a little chunky monkey kid. My dad was very unhealthy, and I saw the pattern that he was going through, and come hell or high water, I was not gonna go through the same health cycle that he found himself in. I was bullied as a child. It wasn't nice that I was bullied, but what was nice about it is I kind of had a place to escape, be away from people, be with myself, and be doing something that I found to really enjoy. It wasn't until 8th grade is when I started going to weights and conditioning with the high school softball players. And people would make remarks about how I was just naturally stronger than other people, all the things. And I think you gravitate towards where people give you compliments or say you're good at things. You're like, man, I'm good at this. I'm gonna keep doing it. And so that's kind of what happened. So I started really learning how to squat. I'd go on the Smith machine and just squat for an hour straight and try to figure out if I was doing something correct, and then find a plethora of other random exercises that I probably pulled off of Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or whatever I used back then to try. So I'd go to the gym on and off, and it wasn't until freshman year of high school, I think even 8th grade, I started going to weights. It really provided me with a great outlet. So rewind back to my childhood, right? My dad wasn't the greatest person. My parents divorced when I was 12, 13. So I was really blessed to find lifting when I did, because it provided me with something to do that wasn't sit around and be angry at the world, right? So before that, I was a chunkier kid. I got made fun of a lot. I wasn't really allowed to do things or socialize the way other kids were, because my dad was very controlling about who I was around and what I did, right? We didn't have a lot of money either. Our roof was falling off of our house. We had a tarp that broke apart every storm season, and we'd have to go re-tarp the roof. I couldn't do much. So I finally had this outlet that I could go and do, not be involved with my family. So like I said, from the age of 12, 13, I started lifting, started going to high school, all the things. And I didn't realize that I call it my feminine rage, right? But when you're told in general as a kid, when you can't do something, especially as a girl, you can't do something because you're a girl, it feels like crap. It feels awful, deflating. And instead of letting that bother me, I really kind of bucked up and decided that no, I was going to hold myself to a male standard. So I would come home, from these workouts, these lifts, and I remember very vividly squatting 225 for the first time my sophomore year of high school. And I told my dad, I came home to my single father's 1-bedroom apartment that probably only had ketchup in the fridge. And I was like, hey dad, I squatted 225. And he was like, who cares? I used to kick a hole in a 9-foot ceiling because I did Krav Maga. Okay. I grew up in this environment around my dad that was not conducive for women pushing themselves to be better physically or academically. He would tell me frequently that I didn't deserve my softball to be paid for. I paid travel softball, and that was the one thing I got growing up that I was really allowed to do. He told me I didn't deserve it because I wasn't good enough and I'd never go to college for it anyways. He would refuse to take me to tournaments. He would refuse to take me to even band functions, right? And he didn't really pay for anything of mine. But I just have very vivid memories of him tearing me down immediately. instead of encouraging me to be better, which is very sad because he did the same thing to my mom during their marriage. And I just saw a lot of, similarities between our relationship and how he treated my mother because we were women. That's kind of like why I got into things and why I dug down just a little bit deeper and harder. Like I said, I had somebody telling me I couldn't be good at this thing. I had other people hyping me up, thankfully, and then I had an outlet. Awesome. Fast forward to high school, I'm kind of doing my thing. I remember getting made fun of a lot because I just didn't care what other people thought of me. I ended up, all throughout high school lifting. I got into Olympic lifting for a little bit, and I followed Nathan and Hannah Dameron, I think is their last name, on Instagram, and they were like my awakenings, right? And they're both Oli lifters. And then I ended up finding Steffi Cohn when Steffi Cohn was like huge in 2017, 2018. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Started squatting and deadlifting and trying to powerlift seriously. Okay, it was so bad. It was so bad. When I tell you it was so bad, this would have been like senior year to freshman year of college. So ugly. I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I was just like the ish. People would continue to like hype me up. And I was like, all right. And people knew me as like that buff softball player. And, it kept encouraging me to do more and more, with that. And with softball being my priority, I did as much as I could. So I continued to play college ball. I loved it. I can't say I wish I could go back. I'm not one of those people that like, oh my gosh, college sports. Like, it was cool. I did it. I didn't get a lot out of it for me just because I was just a little different from the other girls. Not be like, oh my gosh, I'm not like the other girls. Just in the sense that through my JUCO and my 4-year that I went to, I was the only person that had to work. Like, I was the only person that was worried about some external factors that some girls just didn't have to worry about. And that's not on them at all. That's no bash to them. It's just a difference in mindset, I feel like. And I wasn't there necessarily to make friends, which that part I do regret. But I was there to accomplish something. COVID happened. We all love COVID, right? So we were told that we were going to go home for spring break and come back and everything was going to be fine. I was the only person that didn't believe it. Or that didn't believe like what the college was saying, right? I was like, this is bull. So I packed up my car and I went home, and sure enough, like at this point, I had gotten pretty strong and I was like, I'm going to lose everything, right? So I started running. I stopped, obviously, squat, benching, and deadlifting. The college gym in my town opened and I would just walk in there, which you're totally not supposed to do, but I would just walk in there and go lift, right? I'd run 2 miles to the gym, lift, and then run 2 miles home. I was working at UPS, so in my mind, I was doing everything that I could, and I was still like walking, getting steps in, whatever. Very unhealthy. I got to the point where I was going on like 5, 6, 7 mile runs just to like take up time during my day. Cause I would work, I'd do schoolwork, and then I'd try to work out. If I couldn't work out, I'd run. We went from that. The gyms opened back up late summer, midsummer. So I started going back and forth to the gym formally again. And then we went back to school at a D2 in Kansas. And from here, I had a really terrible, I don't know what I did. I had a terrible first impression on my strength coach. I remember first couple of sessions, right? We're in there, we're getting after it. I'm very respectful of people above me. Coaches, yes sir, no sir, what do you need from me? What can I do for you type of thing. And one day, I'm doing hang cleans. I'm sitting there, I'm doing my cleans. I drop the weight, he gets in my face. This far away from me. I'm looking at you, Boucher. I'm looking. And he yells, screams in my face. And I think this was a very pivotal point because this like lit something inside me. And he was telling me about how if he ever catches me in a gym outside of his weight room, that he's going to have something to say about it. He's going to get me kicked out of his weight room. I'll never step foot in the Fort Hays State University strength and conditioning room ever again. I'm like, whatever, right? So I take it, you know, as an athlete, you take that stuff on the chin, but he very obviously made a point to come to me and take me down a peg when I don't think it needed to happen. It was like the day that it clicked where I'm like, I'm gonna be a better athlete and I'm gonna be a better coach than you ever were. Later on down the line, that drove my powerlifting like crazy. I'm like, all right, every day I came in with a vengeance against the strength and conditioning coach, because I'm like, I'm gonna be the strongest athlete on your roster, but I'm not gonna give you any credit for it. At least that's what I thought, right? Fast forward to summer after my junior year, and I go to my first powerlifting meet. It was ugly and embarrassing. It was JP at a Strong Barbell Club was putting this on in Topeka, Kansas. And I went, and I ended up placing first. I think I got the overall. I squatted like 360, deadlifted 401, and benched like 180. Which is cool. And everything. But then, you know, I was new to the sport. I went up to JP and I was like, hey man. And it was probably cringy from his side, but I had no idea what was going on. I was like, hey man, like, I really think I'm good at this. You know, what should I do? Like, should I keep playing softball? Should I whatever? And his response and attitude, he was probably tired from the day. It was so unenthused that I was like, all right, whatever, I guess I'll just keep lifting. I can't even remember what he said. But I had a referee come up to me afterwards and he was like, hey, this is your first meet. And I was like, yeah. Isn't it awesome? Like, I had so much fun, like, not knowing where my numbers were comparably. He's like, no, this is your first meet ever. Like, you need to keep competing. So me and the referee ended up having a good time. And then a powerlifting child was born, right? I fell in love with the sport, absolutely. I kept training. I've done several other meets, a couple Olympias, which was really awesome. And I haven't competed in over a year at this point because I went from the junior to the open, and there's a lot of catching up to do. If you go ahead and do a peak and take months and months out of your training, it's kind of pointless, right? So, you know, after competing, I did that first meet. I competed a few others, and then I qualified for Olympia, and then decided, you know, from there, to keep on and keep on. And now we're here. We just train every day. Our backs hurt, which takes the whole point of like me taking this whole year to grow. My back has been hurting. I haven't been able to squat or deadlift seriously in the past 3 weeks, or since the beginning of October, which is awful. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this takes me and what's in it for the future. Even if I do it, I plan on doing this for a very long time, because powerlifting is a longevity sport. It is not a quick, immediate, rewarding sport. You have to be in it for a long time to get the numbers that you want. So I plan to just hang out and compete, and see where it takes me. And, you know, if one day I could, you know, run with the big dogs. There's some women out here putting up insane numbers. Like, you know, there's some big meets, some big dogs rolling out, that if I could just run with these people, that'd be insane. I think one of the beautiful things that I have mastered for myself is I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, yes, I have goals, and I just tell myself that they are going to happen. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this has to happen. Like, no, calm down. Whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. But the caveat is that I am always putting in the work myself to make that goal happen, right? Because I'm in charge of everything. But anyways, that's kind of my story. I figured I'd just clue you guys in, make a fun little video for today so you could understand a little bit more about why I do what I do. And my dog, I don't know if you can hear him, but my dog is whining like crazy. He is pissed. If you're going to tell me about your powerlifting journey and or your journey with the gym in general, I would love to hear about it, and give me some video ideas. Or if you just want to do like a Q&A. If you want to do a Q&A, just drop some questions below and we can make that happen. I love you guys. I will talk to you next time, and goodbye.